Yo, what's good guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. And we have another reaction to a mock draft. This time, an ESPN mock draft. Our first ESPN mock draft reaction. And it's done by the veteran, I guess, in the... what do you even call this? The drafts, the mock drafts, the draft analyst group. It's Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper is definitely known for being in the game a long time. Not as a player, not once, but as a draft analyst. And he's also known for not having the greatest takes, I'd say. But he's been in this game for a lot longer than me. So what am I going to say about it? It's time to react to ESPN's senior mock draft or draft analyst and Mel Kiper and see what he has to say. So before I start this, I want to say for the Saints pick at 14, I didn't see the player that was drafted, but I do know that on some Saints Instagram pages, like fan pages I follow, it was one they did not expect. So I'm going to be interested to see who he has going there. I know they don't take a quarterback, which is good, because if it's not Jaden Daniels, or I guess Drake May or Caleb Williams, but they won't get them. So if it's not Jaden Daniels, I don't really want him. So I think we just jump right into it with the first overall pick, the Bears. As you can see, Mel Kiper, football analyst. Who does he have the Bears taking? Assuming this is going to be Caleb Williams. Obviously, I will be giving draft grades as well. He has him going Caleb Williams. Just like my last mock draft reaction, I'll give this one an A-. I just don't see the jump in terms of how much better this team's going to be next year if they get Caleb Williams. If they get Marvin Harrison, on the other hand, and they end up with Justin Fields throwing the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr., then I can see a jump. But going from Caleb Williams throwing the ball to DJ Moore, and maybe Roma Dunze Sue to get at 9, then from going to Justin Fields throwing the ball to DJ Moore, it's really not that big of a difference, if any. So, Caleb Williams, obviously generational talent, but it's kind of unfortunate because the Bears, that's just not really what they need. So I'll give it an A-, and I'll really just move on because, I mean, that's what I have to. At the second overall pick, he has the Commanders, so okay, taking Jaden Daniels. I've seen more and more Jaden Daniels being taken ahead of Drake May, and I think that's overall just because of his versatility on his legs. Drake May's not a terrible runner, like, by any means. Like, he can get it done when he has to get it done. But he is no Jaden Daniels, who steps out of the pocket frequently, has design runs for him, and most importantly, his speed is unlike any quarterback that we have in this draft class. So, if that's what Mel Kiper thinks separates them, then he can think that. Personally, as a prospect, I'm still going to take Drake May over Jaden Daniels, so I'll give this pick a B. I'm assuming that Drake May goes with the third overall pick. That'll most likely be an A+. But I'll give it a B to the Commanders. New head coach, new quarterback, I mean, I guess, but I think I would take Drake May right now over Jaden Daniels. It'll be interesting to see how they test during their pro days and combines, though. Third overall pick, he has the Patriots taking Drake May. I'll give it an A. You know, I don't give it an A, and here's why I won't give it an A+. The best player in the draft is still on the board, and while, yes, they do need a future quarterback, not Drake May, Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi will not be able to get it done. The best player is still on the board, Marvin Harrison Jr., and their wide receiver depth is one of the worst in the league right now, if not the worst. I mean, the Cardinals are definitely up there with them. So, you have the worst receiver corner in the league, and you have an opportunity to get the best receiver prospect that we've seen in years, and they decide not to take him. Okay, but obviously quarterback's the more important position. Receivers don't matter if you don't have a quarterback to throw to them. I'll give it an A from Drake May, just because there's one guy on the board that is better. Next up at 4, the most obvious pick in the draft, if the draft goes the way we expect it to go, 1 through 3, barring any Drake May and not Marvin Harrison and Jaden Daniel changes from 2 to 3. Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4. It's an A+ for me. It's the perfect pick. They don't have a wide receiver 1 now that DeAndre Hopkins has left. So go get the best wide receiver prospect we've seen in a while in Marvin Harrison Jr. At 5, like I said last time, this is where I think the draft personally gets to start. He has the Chargers taking Brock Bowers out of Georgia, like the pick I have in my mock drafts. Brock Bowers is, like Marvin Harrison Jr., a generational-like talent. Is he overall a generational talent? I'm not sure, but he is one of the best college football players I've watched personally in my lifetime. He just changes the game in so many ways. Catching the ball, uh, even we could see right here in Mel Kiper's um, analysis, edge rusher, cornerback, offensive line, wide receiver. The Chargers have big questions, and Brock Bowers literally can fill both the receiver and the tight end. But Bowers is unbelievable. He's an amazing receiver, great run after catch, and his blocking is extremely underrated. I think he's arguably a top 3 blocker for a tight end that's in this draft class. And if him going at 5 because of that, and obviously his great receiving skills, I think it's a great fit for the Chargers. At 6, we have the Giants. He hasn't taken Malik Neighbors. So far, me and his mock draft, Mel Kiper, we've gone, everything has been the same except Drake May and Jaden Daniels switching. I'm cool with Malik Neighbors to the Giants. I'll give it an A+. Just a little bit mad that we can't get our franchise quarterback and have to roll with Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor or Tommy DeVito, we don't know if Daniel Jones will be 100% healthy when the season starts because of his torn ACL last year. Just mad that we can't get a franchise quarterback. But Malik Neighbors is my wide receiver too, and I'm glad to see him go to the Giants. Well, I'm not a Giants fan. I'm from New York, so new playmakers in New York, nothing to hate on. At 6, Malik Neighbors, I'll give it an A+. At 7, we have the Titans taking Joe Alt. I'll give it a minus. You know what? I'll give it a B+. I'll give it an A-. My opinion, Olufashanu is still the better tackle prospect. I think he has a higher ceiling. Higher floor, you might want to give it to Joe Alt, but Fashanu's potential is possibly best in the league, which sounds crazy to say because how much talent there is in the league, especially at the tackle position, but that's his potential. Joe Alt, though, like I've said many times, he's a better fit with Skoronski, so it does make more sense for the Titans. I've had this mocked as well. That's why I'm not going to be too mad about it. But I'll give it an A- just because I think Fashanu is overall the better player. At 8, we have the Falcons. Most of the time, this is where we see the first defensive player. And we do see it with Dallas Turner out of Alabama. Again, I have this mocked as well. And I'm glad he didn't give them a quarterback because I've seen that he had quarterback high on his draft board, whether it was J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix or maybe even Bo Nix. I can't fully remember. But my first defensive player off the board going to the Falcons as well. I 100% agree with the pick. I'll give it an A+. I like the pick. I think it's great value at 8. Overall, I think I'll give it an A+. At 9, we're going to see the Chicago Bears. So this is going to be the second pick. Are they going to snag Rome Odunze? Are they going to snag an edge? Let's see. He has them going Rome Odunze out of Washington. I had this as well. If they do end up getting Caleb Williams, nothing better to do than give him weapons at receiver. He does have DJ Moore already, which is good, but right now that's really the only guy they have in there. Equanimous St. Brown, definitely not much. Darnell Mooney has not fallen off a cliff, but hasn't really lived up to his potential after his rookie season. So get a true wide receiver 1 in there in Rome Odunze, who is Devontae Adams-like. Obviously, that's an insane comparison considering Devontae Adams was the league's best receiver for a couple years, but he has all the traits, all the intangibles that Devontae Adams does have. I think it's a great pick at 9. I'll give it an A. I think I'll give it an A. At 10, we're going to see the Jets. He has them going Olufashanu. Perfect pick. I'm going to give this an A+ right off the bat. I mean, it's a guy who has top 4 pick potential, dropping to you at 10, and your main need is a tackle, and that's the position he needs. That's the position that he is, and in my opinion, he's the best tackle in the class. You really can't get better than that. I'll give it an A+. At 11, we have the Vikings. I've seen cornerback. I've seen edge. I've seen quarterback. Let's see. He has them going cornerback. Nate Wiggins. Finally, someone giving Nate Wiggins the, not respect he deserves, but overall not dropping him in the 20s because he's a top 15 level talent. Height, weight, speed, demon. 6'4", long arms. And overall, his hustle, his tenacity, it's really unlike any other cornerback in this class. Quinion Mitchell, I guess, someone similar. Kamari Lassiter, sure. I guess Terry Arnold to an extent. but you don't find a cornerback who has the level of tenacity and the will to get back into play, chase a tackle down, and is 6'4" with long, freakish arms. You don't see that every day, and that's what Nate Wiggins brings. He's going to be a great NFL player, and he's going to be that's a great pick for the Vikings at 11. I think I'll give the pick an A. I'll give it an A, because I think edge might be a little bit more of a priority, but Nate Wiggins is one of my favorite players in this draft. At 12, he has the Broncos taking Laiatu Latu, the edge, out of UCLA. Okay, that's cool. They do need defense. They do need somewhat run stopping. I've given them Johnny Newton in the past, and from what I've seen, Johnny Newton's kind of fell off in terms of where he's being drafted. So I guess they could look at Kavondre Sweat, who this might be a little too rich for me for this high. Also, obviously, Byron Murphy, who's also climbed up a lot of draft boards as well. I had him going in the first round of my mock draft. So, Laiatu Latu, it's cool. It's not their number one need. I think they probably end up going cornerback. But Latu's not a terrible pick. I'll give it an A-. At 13, this is going to be the Raiders. He has them going Terrion Arnold. Okay, sure. That's my cornerback 2 in my big board. That's my cornerback 2. I have him going around this range. I think somewhere between. What was the 11th pick? I'm going somewhere between 12 and 17. I think in my mock draft. Can't remember the exact landing spot for him, but he's my CB2. The Raiders desperately need cornerback, and if they're not looking to pick quarterback, I think Terrion Arnold is 100% the right pick for them, unless Olu Fashanu's on the board, which in this case he's not. Arnold to the Raiders. I'll give it an A. At 14, here's where the Saints are. So I'm gonna predict who he has him going. I can't see the name. Most likely, I think he'll give us edge in Jared Verse, but that wouldn't really explain the confusion coming from those Instagram pages. If this is quarterback, I'm gonna be pretty mad. I mean, I could see corner if he gives us Quilly McKinstry, but really, I guess I don't know. We'll see. I'd be surprised if this was wide receiver too. Keon Coleman maybe. Doubt Brian Thomas is this high. Keon Coleman, though, could be. Maybe one of the other guys from. I don't know. Let's just see this one. He hasn't gone Brian Thomas Jr. Okay. All right. Brian Thomas Jr. 6'4". How much is he How much does Brian Thomas Jr. weigh? I think he's around 200. They have him at 205. I thought he was a little bit more than that, so a little bit skinny. But yeah, sure. 6'5" receiver to the Saints. Or 6'4", excuse me. I guess. I mean, if you really want to stick with Derek Carr and give him more weapons like Brian Thomas Jr., sure. I think you could definitely target wide receiver in round 2. I expect a bunch of them to fall out of the first round. Jalen Pope will most likely fall out. Jalen McMillan will probably be available in round 3 to 4. Those are just guys from Washington. Xavier Worthy possibly. Xavier Legette possibly. Malachi Corley possibly out of Western Kentucky. A.D. Mitchell out of Texas. I mean, there's a bunch of guys who can fall out of the first round and I think would have similar value to Brian Thomas Jr. That's why I don't think it's a great pick at 14. But overall, I'll give it a B. I'm not hating on it completely because I like Brian Thomas Jr., but I think there's more needs, and especially if we're going to see Rashid Shaheed slide into the wide receiver 2 position, Olave slide into the wide receiver 1, and A.T. Parrott slide into the wide receiver 3. Him also being 6'4" too, he's probably weighs a lot more than Brian Thomas Jr., but 6'4" as well. I guess get big targets for Carr, but I'll give it a B. At 15, we have the Colts taking Keon Coleman. So this is a lot higher than what I've seen him in the last couple of mock drafts I've reacted to. I mean, in my mock draft, I think I had him slipping out of completely the first round. I don't think the Colts need to get wide receiver here. Wide receiver here. Jared Verse is still on the board, and I think in the best case scenario, he can end up going 8 to the Falcons. I think that is the pick, in my opinion. I don't love Keon Coleman out of Florida State. I had him dropping to the second round of my mock draft. Honestly, I'll give it my lowest grade so far in a C plus. I don't think he goes this high. I just don't really see it. I'll give it a C plus though for Coleman to the Colts. At 16, I know we have the Seahawks. Can we see quarterback here? We do see quarterback here in J.J. McCarthy. All right, I mean, that's probably going to get a lower grade than Keon Coleman. I don't know if the Seahawks are picking in the second rounds. If they are picking, lined up with how they're picking in the first round, so they'd be picking at, 48? McCarthy or Penix? I guess they probably won't drop all the way to 48. We might see a team try to swoop up to get them in the mid-30s. So if we're really that desperate for quarterback and need one for the future, and you want to get McCarthy at 16, sure. I mean, I think overall Penix would be the better player for this team. I don't need a guy like McCarthy who's going to sit and develop. I kind of want to get a guy. I mean, we already have guys who are entering their prime, and Kenneth Walker, he's probably already in his prime. We know how long the lifespan for running backs are in this league. Metcalf's in his prime. Tyler Lockett has been in his prime, and he's probably going to exit it soon. I want to get a more ready, NFL-ready quarterback, if I'm going to take one, in Michael Penix. Overall, I'll give this a C, though. Don't think they should take quarterback. I'd probably lean offensive tackle here or guard. But McCarthy's not a terrible player. I see too much hate online for J.J. McCarthy. I just don't think he is a first-round player right now. I'd love to see what he does during the combine and his pro days, because that really can bring a quarterback up. But I'll give it a C, though. Don't really like it for the Seahawks. At 17, we have there should be the Jaguars, unless he has trades in here, which I don't think he does. He has the Jaguars taking Cooper DeJean. Sure, I like this pick for the Jaguars. If he does have Cooper DeJean over cornerbacks like Kool-Aid McKinstry, Quinion Mitchell, Kamari Lassiter, guys like Kalen King, those top cornerbacks, I think they're all basically on the same tier, but really Cooper DeJean just does so much more than those guys. Said it in so many mock drafts, reactions, and regular mock drafts, Cooper DeJean is as versatile as it gets in the defensive back position. Notice how I said defensive back and not just corner, because DeJean can play the boundary, can play the slot, can play both safety positions, can return kicks and punts. He could do it all. So if we're ready to use that versatility, if you're the Jaguars and you want to use him that way, then it's a great pick at 17. I think if he reaches the NFL, don't have him just play one position, because he could do a lot more. Great player value. Personally, probably would have him dropping a little bit lower, but I don't hate it. I'll give it a B plus to the Jaguars. At 18, we're going to have the Bengals. He has them going J.C. Latham. Okay, so Latham slips a little bit in this mock draft, but going to the Bengals I think is perfect fit. The Bengals are in desperate need of a tackle, and they're getting a guy who has top 10 potential, where in best case scenario, I can see him going 10 to the Jets. So falling to 18, I think it's a perfect pick for the Bengals. Even if you have the wide receivers you still want on the board or the cornerbacks, I think you have to take Latham ahead of them. Unless maybe if it's a Dunze. But other than that, I think you have to take Latham. I also don't think a Dunze falls past 17 from the Jaguars. I'll give it an A+. Top 10 talent, able to snag him at 18. Perfect case scenario for the Cincinnati Bengals. At 19, we have the Rams. He has them going Jared Verse. So slipping is Jared Verse. Me personally, where did I have Verse going in my mock draft? Let me just refresh my memory. Was it 15? Might have been 15. I don't think it was 13. Don't think it was 12. I think it was 15 because 11 I know I had Leatu Latu. So Verse falling from, in my mock draft, 15 to 19. It's great value for the Rams. They need edge. It's a good pick for them. They need edge. I'm going to say, even if Verse was off the board, and let's say Verse was off the board, but a guy like Keon Coleman was still on the board, and they were looking for a next player, you could go ahead and take Braylon Trice if you're that needy for an edge, because I think Trice does have first-round value. But Verse, it's a potential top 10 guy. Snagging him at 19, similar to the J.C. Latham situation, I'll give it an A+. At 20, we have the Steelers. He has them going Kamari Lassiter. Okay. I think there are a couple corners left on this board that I would take over Kamari Lassiter. Two just being Quinion Mitchell and Kool-Aid McKinstry. you're high on Kamari Lassiter and you believe he's on the same tier, if not better, of those two guys I just mentioned, then take him at 20. He's a really aggressive cornerback. Honestly, has similar playstyle to Joey Porter Jr. So having two cornerbacks, young cornerbacks with high potential, Joey Porter Jr. has already shown himself to be a great, a second-round pick last year. Sure, take Kamari Lassiter. It's not a terrible pick. I just have two corners on the top of my head that are better than him. So I'll give it a B, just because Quinyon Mitchell, Kool-Aid McKinstry are just two guys I'd take over Kamari Lassiter right now. At 21, we have the Dolphins. He has them going Trey Fautanu. So I've seen more and more the Dolphins taking guard in this draft, or guard/center in these mock drafts. I'm thinking about giving them Jackson Powers-Johnson in the next mock draft I do, which will be after the Super Bowl. I probably would just release it on Monday because I don't have school that day. But if Troy Fautanu is still on the board, and Jackson Powers-Johnson, obviously, because he doesn't go higher than this, in my opinion, I think we snag Troy Fautanu. A guy in my mock draft where I have him going 16 to the Seahawks. He's the best guard in this mock draft. He's the best interior offensive lineman in all. He had an amazing season for Washington, leading them to have the best offensive lineman or offensive line in the country, winning the award. It's a cool pick to the Dolphins. I'll give it an A+. I think it's very, very, very high value at 21. And I think Troy Fautanu can turn to one of the league's best guards into his career. At 22, we have his Philadelphia Eagles. This should be corner or O-line. This is all I've seen in these mock drafts. He has them going O-line, Talisi Fuega. Sure. Don't know how many times I have to mention this, but there are like 6 offensive linemen that are on the same tier as Fuega. I mean, if I want to just search up NFL mock draft simulator, obviously the one I use right here with Pro Football Network? Yes, it is. We go to the tackle position. Starting, I guess, with Talisi Fuega, Mims, Suamataia, Guyton, Jordan Morgan, Patrick Paul. That's 6 guys right there. All of them I could see end up late first round or early second round. Literally every single one of them. So if your favorite one out of those 6 is Talisi Fuega, even though, did we have one of those tackles go earlier? No, we didn't even have one of those tackles go earlier. So if your favorite out of those 6 is Talisi Fuega, go ahead and take him. But me, probably have, who would I have over him? Me have Amarius Mims over him. But after that, I think Latham or Fuega is the second best tackle. At 23, we have the Texans. He has them going Johnny Newton. Okay, I'm cool with the defensive line pick, either interior or edge in Chop Robinson. It's a team that needs pass rushing, though, so that's why I probably would lean Chop Robinson. But Johnny Newton is a great run stopper. I had him go 32 in my mock draft, so a little bit lower than what people usually think. But it's a good pick. If I didn't say my grade for Fuega, I'd give it an A. And for Johnny Newton, I'd probably give it a B+. At 24, Cowboys taking Jordan Morgan. Did I have this exact pick? I'm not sure. But like I said, with the Eagles, you want to take tackle. You want to take out of the best 5 available now with Jordan Morgan, Kingsley Suamataia, Patrick Paul, Amarius Mims, the guys I just named off my head, or that we just saw in that other one. Who was that last one again? No. Did I name all of them? I must have named all of them. If he's your favorite one, take him. I can say the exact same thing with the Packers. I think you should take tackle or possibly defensive back. I mean, we still have Quinyon Mitchell and Kool-Aid McKinstry available, but if we're locked in on tackle, then you take your favorite one. Really, in my opinion, they're nearly the same projection of pick. 26, we have the Buccaneers taking edge. Yep, it's a team need for sure. They had one of the worst pass rushing last season. I think the pick, in my opinion, is edge, corner, or receiver. Chop Robinson still on the board. I think it's a great pick for the Buccaneers at 26. By the way, I'll give both Kingsley Suamataia and Jordan Morgan a B+, and I'll give Chop Robinson an A, honestly. At 27, we have the Cardinals taking Tyler Guyton. Yeah, sure. I mean, I've said this so many times, but if we want to take a tackle, and if he's your favorite one left out of whoever's left, Patrick Paul, I think that's the only guy left out of those couple of guys, and Amarius Mims, then go ahead. I'll give this one a B+, because I think Amarius Mims is the better prospect over the couple of tackles we've seen go here in the 20s. At 28, we have A.D. Mitchell out of Texas to the Buffalo Bills. A.D. Mitchell, or Adonai Mitchell, he is a raw prospect. 6'4", can go up and get it, but the route running needs some work. Open field speed needs some work. Running after catch needs some work. But overall, A.D. Mitchell is a great prospect. Same thing with Keon Coleman. It's the taller guys that really I tend to push down the board, because I've seen A.D. Mitchell in the first round, but I personally think right now he's a second-round guy, just like Keon Coleman. But it's not a bad pick. I think I'll give it a B. No, I think I'll give it a B+, just because maybe there's one or two receivers I take over him with the guys left on the board. But overall, it's not a bad pick, especially if you want to give Josh Allen a bigger target to throw it to. At 29, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. This should be quarterback, or wide receiver, not quarterback, wide receiver. Troy Franklin out of Oregon. I've also seen him get pulled up draft boards a lot. It's because of his speed. It's, yes, maybe Bo Nix did contribute a little bit to his success last year at Oregon, but Bo Nix also threw a bunch of screen passes. Troy Franklin was able to get his, and he had a great season at Oregon. And I'm glad to see him get in the first round. I mean, I had him mocked in the first round in, my first or second mock draft. And at that time, not a lot of people had him in the first round. So I'm glad to see, I guess my little prediction about him was right, and that he would end up being possibly a first-round receiver. I'd take Troy Franklin over A.D. Mitchell, though. I just want to make that clear. So he's one of the guys I would take over A.D. Mitchell if I was looking for a guy for the Bills. Only problem is you already have a guy like Shakir, who basically does what Troy Franklin does. At 30, finally Quinyon Mitchell to the, I guess I didn't give him a grade. I think A.D. Mitchell, I gave it a B. Troy Franklin, I'll give it a B+. Quinyon Mitchell, A+. He's my third cornerback. Right? Is he my third cornerback in this class? Him or Kool-Aid McKinstry? I forgot who I had go higher. Actually, I think I had McKinstry go higher. So I guess he's my fourth cornerback in this class. I had him going 20 in my mock draft. Him falling to 32 or to 30. Some people might not think of it as a fall, but me, Quinyon Mitchell is a high potential guy. 6 feet, 6'1", elite cornerback speed. Highly aggressive player. He likes to use his hands a lot. He likes to get into the receiver's space, jam at the line. Quinyon Mitchell is going to be a beast in this Dan Campbell defense. Also, I am rooting for the Lions to get and win the Super Bowl. Get to and win the Super Bowl. Let's go. At 31, we have the Ravens taking Ennis Rakestraw over McKinstry. Okay. I guess I can just go right back to this draft board a little bit to see who else who he's taking. Who he's taking Rakestraw over McKinstry, over Kalen King, except I would argue that Rakestraw probably is higher than Kalen King. Then I guess TJ Tampa is the only other guy, but I'd take Rakestraw over him as well. Kalen King, I think, might be the better pick for the Ravens if we're looking for cornerback. Only thing I'm wondering is why the Ravens have the 31st overall pick and not the 32nd. They had the same record, or did they beat, or not, or did they have a game better than the 49ers this season? I'm not sure, but I know the 49ers would have the 32nd overall pick. We haven't seen them yet, but the Ravens would technically have it because they ended up beating the 49ers. I'm not sure. I'll give Ennis Rakestraw a B, though, just because I think we could look at interior defensive linemen, Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, possibly edge, Braylon Trice. But Rakestraw is not terrible. Actually, I'll give it a B-. At 32, this is going to be the 49ers. Don't know why they're there, but whatever, we'll react to it. He hasn't taken Amarius Mims. A+ right there for Mims. One of the best tackles in this draft class, and having him at 32 when his height is, 14, I think, to the Saints. it's a great pick for the 49ers, getting a position of need and having him at 32. A+, guy who can go a lot higher. Thanks for watching this mock draft, and yeah, it's fun to see ESPN drop mock drafts. This is the network that's going to be showing the NFL draft, so getting their senior guy in Mel Kiper, I guess their #1 guy, do it. It's cool. Yeah, like reacting to mock drafts. Put in the comments if you want to see me react to an NBA one as well, because I do both NBA and NFL. Really doesn't matter to me. Thanks for watching this video, and yeah, see you next time. Peace.